Today we're going to talk about unemployment, specifically calculating the rate of unemployment. Now it's important to understand to be included in that category unemployment, you have to first be unemployed, not working. Then you have to actively be looking for work. So just because you're not working does not necessarily mean you are counted as technically being unemployed. So if you're sitting at home watching Maury, doing nothing, technically you're not unemployed. I know it sounds crazy, but let's practice. I've put on the board our simple calculation for the rate of unemployment. The calculation for the rate of unemployment is the number of people unemployed divided by the labor force times 100. So let's practice, let's have fun with this. Don't worry about having to know algebra and a lot of math or anything like that. I'm not an expert in that either, but we're going to practice with a few statistics so that we can see exactly how easy this is. So let's assume that we have 230 million people total in the U.S. population. Also, out of that 230 million people in the U.S., 67% of those people are in the labor force. Or participating in the labor force, I should say. And remember that in order to be in the labor force, you have to be either working, actively looking for work. It does not include people that are under the age of 16, incarcerated, military workers returning from the military, disabled people, or people sitting at home watching Judge Judy for whatever reason and doing nothing. So none of those people are included in the labor force, okay? And we're also going to assume that 85 million people or adults are not working. So maybe I should spell working better. So these are our statistics that we are working with for purposes of our demonstration. So we're going to solve for three things first before we can plug the information needed into our formula. First, we need to determine the actual size of our labor force, and that's what we're going to do first. Then we need to figure out the number of people that are not in the labor force in order to then determine the true number of people that are unemployed. Again, unemployment means, or to be unemployed means that you are actively looking for work and you are not included in the labor force. So let's start. Let's determine first the size of the labor force. In order to do so, we need to take the 230 million people that's in the U.S., and we're going to just times it times our rate of the labor force, or our percentage of the people that are participating in the labor force. See, real simple. So times 67%, that will give us a figure of 154.1 million people are in the labor force. So we have our little stick man, and he's in the labor force, and he's happy. He's going to work. Yay. It's a little briefcase. We're going to say, yay, he's motivated, we're happy. 154.1 million people. So now we're going to solve for the number of people that are not in the labor force. And in order to do so, if we have 230 million people in the U.S. and 154.1 million people as the size of our labor force, in order to figure out people not in the labor force, we just subtract. So we're going to subtract 230 minus 154.1, and this will give us a magic number of 75.9 million people that are not in the labor force. So they're not, well, as happy, a little sad, rats, that's what they're saying, right? Rats not in the labor force. So out of that, then, how many people are unemployed? We're almost at the home stretch. How many people are unemployed? So if we have 75.9 million people that are not in the labor force, and our statistics say that we have 85 million people that are not working, in order to find the actual number of people that are unemployed, we'll do simple subtraction again. So 85 million minus 75.9, not in the labor force. So these are just people unemployed. These are people not in the labor force. This will give us a nice total of 9.1 million people are actually unemployed. That's our magic number. So now we have the figures that we need in order to do our calculation for the rate or our unemployment rate or rate of unemployed people for this purpose that are in the U.S. So looking at our formula here, the number of people unemployed, 9.1 million. The number of people that are active in our labor force based on our figures are 154.1. We take 9.1 divided by 154.1 times that by 100, and ding, 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 we have our percentage or our rate of unemployment at 5.9%. See how easy that is? Very simple. That's how you solve for the unemployment rate.